I don't need to explain to you what Fortnite is. I put a picture of this guy, this place, and this dance on screen, and you immediately get it. Fortnite is unarguably the most popular video game of the last 8 years. It's reinvented culture over and over. It's got such insane outreach that's able to pull collaborations with titans of all kinds of industries. Dragon Ball, Star Wars, Vocaloid, Adventure Time, Doom, the NBA. Fortnite has made itself known as the home of worlds, where if you're interested in something and they add it to the game, you'll probably start playing Fortnite. Are there any characters you're hoping to see? Like, if there's a character that gets in the game, will I finally be able to convince you to play the game again?
I mean...
If Tron gets in...
Well, yeah, I mean, if Tron gets in, I would definitely buy it. I don't know how much I would play it, though. I don't know. RoboCop would be cool.
It's undeniable how popular Fortnite was in late 2017, and especially all of 2018. People still talk about Kevin the Cube as though it's some kind of deity. They shot a rocket into some rift, popularizing the idea of live events. You could play as Thanos, they blew up Dusty Divot, they put this uber powerful sword into the game.
He can jump anywhere he needs to be right now.
That's another elimination. He's on a killing spree. Oh my word!
There was a whole genuine ARG, and the true combo of best mates into Orange Justice still hasn't been replicated to this day.
Let's go and see if it's got a chug. Nothing.
Going into 2019, Fortnite was still insanely popular. Everyone knows what a Peely is and how strong the brutes are. The combat shotgun was fighting with the pump for top billing, and we went back in time as these weird zones appeared around the map. At the same time, some weird scientist guys were showing up. Hype was building for what this could possibly mean. And then, Fortnite died. Literally. On October 13th, 2019, Fortnite wrote history by sucking the entire game into a black hole for more than a day straight. It was wholly unplayable. Then, on October 15th, they revealed Chapter 2. Then, the next seasons were each about 4 months long, and it killed a lot of the excitement around the bold new step Fortnite was taking. As the seasons progressed and the numbers of chapters grew, people were becoming even more disinterested at the new version of Fortnite installed on their computer. There's a massive outcry to revert and bring back the old map, the one people remember playing on. So almost exactly 4 years after we left it, Fortnite returned to the Chapter 1 map, calling it Fortnite OG. To say that it was popular would be an understatement. A year later, Fortnite OG would return as a brand new, permanent game mode. They were really hyping it up, and on launch, it blew away people's expectations. Then, they added skill-based matchmaking, which is good. On launch, the Fortnite OG game mode threw 100 real, actual people together in a lobby, with no care for how good any of them were. And in the 4 years since we last saw the Chapter 1 island, the skills of some players are vastly beyond the skills of most others. I think skill-based matchmaking is an inherently helpful tool when used right, and it's able to give just about everyone in the lobby a real fighting chance. Then they added bots. Then they cranked up the amount of bots. To a lot of people, this is just what outright killed the mode. On average, I tend to get about 50 bots per lobby. They've made a lot of changes to bots, increasing and decreasing the maximum amount of real people in lobbies, but they never seem happy with it. And then they did this change while I'm recording. What are they doing? And it's not like this is an issue exclusive to OG either. Bots have been plaguing the game for years. Even some of the more casual players have noticed it.
Battle Royale. I gotta bring this up real quick, but recently, like just the last couple seasons, the amount of bots in this game has been crazy. Every match my friends and I play, we're just fighting bots for the first 10 minutes, sometimes longer.
I'm not here to get into speculation over whether it's because of the obscene amount of modes spreading players thin, or because they want to make wins more artificial. That's a video for a whole nother time. It's been covered to death by every Fortnite creator worth their salt. Of course, the bots aren't the only issue. The weapons in OG have been broken for a while. They've been inaccurate to actual OG weapons, giving the game a different feel. They also somehow made the final shots of the tactical SMG play to every person in the lobby. I think that's really funny. How do you mess this up? Sure, they fixed some of it, but when it takes someone on Twitter making a giant thread about everything that's broken, and then only like 2 of the things are changed in the next update, there is clearly a deeper problem. In fact, That's a pretty big problem with Fortnite's communication about OG in general. They rarely make posts about it, only really whenever new seasons come out. The fact that it takes going to an account not affiliated with Fortnite to find the patch notes is absurd. In fact, at the time of writing and recording, they haven't tweeted about Fortnite OG in over a month and a half, and they have made multiple changes to the game since then. They also just consistently make some extremely odd changes. Aside from even adding a zero build mode, they added zip lines, ascenders, and infinite use rifts. And then they also put them in build mode.
We have this one.
What?
Just. Yeah, like, okay.
The fact that all of these exist in build mode is absurd, because it's really just changing it for the worse. Jakus, someone who's become quite rooted in the OG scene, sent me a replay where he kills like 11 bots and then dies to a player who used those zip lines to break through his builds. These really have no reason to exist whatsoever. They drastically change the pace of the game, and some of them are completely asinine as to their placement. Wait, does this zipline naturally break that tree?
I guess so.
That's horrid.
They just don't even fucking care.
They did not try. Oh,
The ascenders on this mountain are actually the saddest shit ever.
yeah, if they enabled wall scrambling, you wouldn't even need them.
Oh yeah, and then also I just in my opinion, this is just sad. Like it kind of ruins the mountain.
They also changed the storms to the pacing of those introduced in Chapter 4 Season 2 to accommodate the floating island and to help slow the pace of the game down. OG doesn't have a floating island, and now the storm is hardly a threat. They keep making changes to the mode that overhaul the way it's played, rarely communicate that to the players, and then the changes themselves are the most unneeded things ever.
Let's get in there, Philip. He's definitely in that room right there. In there.
I have eyes on him. Carlos.
Huh? Oh my god! Is that one?
They brought back 50v50. It was really fun, aside from that weird time around launch where they had bots. They're incredibly inconsistent about bots and their amounts, and it's not like Fortnite OG has the same amount of players as like Rocket Racing. Fortnite has enough players to fill full lobbies, but they've just decided that every player needs to play with bots, even legacy players. As a machine.
I think I'm kind of in a bot lobby right now. Every person I've encountered had the aim of a fucking 2-year-old.
Hello, I am Jakus. I am a YouTuber. I've made 3 videos documenting the rise and fall of various Chapter 1 OG Fortnite remakes built in UEFN.
What's fizzing? I'm YourEashotgun. I'm the Fortnite guy.
It's me. It's me, Grass. I'm awesome, and like I have like $1 million.
Hi, I'm Blue, also known as ForceFan13 on Twitter.
I'm Jojojosiah. My actual name is Josiah, but I've been doing Fortnite content for like 7 years, I think. Something crazy. Pretty much the entire time Fortnite has been out.
Hi, I'm B. I play Fortnite on occasion. That's my introduction.
I'm Alex. I have remade a lot of Fortnite stuff in the past, including the entirety of S7 on my own without Epic's resources. I have a lot of experience here. I've leaked a ton of OG stuff. I have documented a ton of bugs. I am basically the OG guy in the community at this point.
Hi, name's Nick Worstending. I'm single. I'm 18 years young, and I love myself some Fortnite.
Hi.
Like, say who you are, what you do.
I'm Ghosty. I play Fortnite casually, and I draw.
Hello, I'm Azazel, and I sometimes stream, but at the moment I'm on a hiatus due to university work.
Hi, I'm Funky. Some might call me Funky Operations. I've been playing Fortnite since 2018, season 3, actually.
That was my second question. What season did you start playing?
I started playing like mid-season 4, chapter 1 on Switch. Like whenever it came out for Switch is when I started playing, which was quite the experience.
Don't. okay, fuck. I've been playing since chapter 1, season 1. Alright, I'm a big Fort fan. I love Fort. Alright, it's my main thing.
I have no idea, at least season 3 of chapter 1. But I hopped on once like a few months before I really started playing, because one of my friends kept bugging me to, and I got on, and I was like, I hate this, and I got off.
Started playing back in season 5, but it was literally only one match. I didn't have the connection to play well at the time, and I wouldn't go back to Fortnite until Chapter 2, Season 1.
3 days after it released.
Chapter 1, Season 3.
Chapter 1, Season 0, before leaderboards, before anything. I don't have Renegade Raider. I actually don't like Renegade Raider.
I started in Season 2 of Chapter 1. I remember it was the Christmas event of 2017. I think it had that like key out with the Frost Night event. So it was like right before Tilted got added. So let's just say I might be a little bit of an OG.
So what season is your overall favorite? Like, you have to pick one.
I've thought about this a lot over the last couple of years, you know, and I think my favorite's gotta be Chapter 1, Season 8, right? I think there's a lot of people that share that opinion, right? But everything was going so great, then the map was like at like its best. The loot pool was amazing. There's the fucking vault runes. There was the vault.
Chapter 2, Season 7. It doesn't get any better than that.
It's hard to rank seasons. I would probably say either Chapter 2, Season 7 or 8. The thing that's tough is, I don't know if I would necessarily say that either of those were my favorite build of the game. Like, if we were paused in time, I don't know if I would answer that. But both of those seasons, I feel, embraced the whole, like, live service bit really. I like the updates that we got throughout really well. I think the mechanics were fresh and new. Like, it seemed like they were, like, actually expanding. Fuck.
Well, if it wasn't obvious by my Sunny profile picture, I think Chapter 2, Season 7 is one of my personal favorites. The whole, the theming, the weaponry, the way the game just played out in general, not with just the guns, but the UFOs, is still very iconic to me.
Chapter 2, Season 7. So good. Peak.
I think I'll go with Chapter 4, Season 1.
Looking back at all of them, definitely somewhere in Chapter 1, maybe honestly Season X. I really liked Season X with all of like the rift zones and everything. I thought that was really cool. And I feel like if anything, I miss those a lot.
Chapter 2, Season 8. Bar none. I know that's like a weird opinion. I know that is my favorite season. It's not close. And it's another hot take, but I do not like Chapter 2, Season 7 very much compared to what's prior. I mean, I like it compared to everything after, really, but...
I'm weird. Chapter 2, Season 3.
Probably Chapter 1, Season 4, and maybe Season X near the end of it when the mechs were bolted.
Yeah, I'm in a really awesome spot because I'm a primal boy, so...
I'm gonna leave this interview.
So before Fortnite OG was announced or leaked, did you ever find yourself wanting to return to the Chapter 1 map?
That's a really good question. Honestly, like, it wasn't really a want because you know about Rift multiplayer, right? All the private server stuff. Before they brought back OG, I never really played it, but I saw my friends play it a lot. And it was always the earlier seasons, like before Season 5. And I thought it was fine. I didn't really feel the need to want to go back. I mean, I felt that way like a tiny bit when we were approaching end of like Chapter 4, right before they announced OG. But other than that, I was like pretty fine with where we were. I wasn't like, wow, I wish I could go back to those good old days.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to like go back, I think. Wasn't like crazy want to go back, but I always thought like it was a matter of when. Not like, I don't know. I always thought it was going to happen.
I think I had somewhat always understood that even if OG Fortnite did come back, I wouldn't be able to have the same experiences I had playing it with my friends. But I did wish that the OG map would come back on behalf of my friends so that it would give them incentive to actually pick up the game again so we could play again.
Not exactly. Not to the map in particular, but rather accessing the cosmetics from previous passes. Yeah, because the content from those seasons is available on Creator, and I have been able to experience a good number of things thanks to that. The only one I really want to actually play is Season X.
I played a lot of Era back then, during Chapter 4, like, not a lot, but, like, a good amount. I always liked Athena, more so for the gameplay around it, rather than necessarily the map itself. I like the map a lot, especially S7 onward. That's when I think it's like one of the best maps in the game's history, if not like probably the second best. I do like Pina. I did want to go back, but not necessarily as like the entire game. I thought OG was fun as a month long, but like now I'm not saying I want it to be like I don't want the entire game to be Athena necessarily. I think that there's a place for both.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've always been one of those people who have stuck with the game through the primals and the wilds eras, but I was at least interested to see if a return to form would be beneficial for the game and if it would increase my enjoyment of the game.
Look, I'm the gaming fucking atheist, okay? And my opinions are my own. If you get offended, fucking block me. I think that, you know, if you were on a computer, right, you're not on a console, that itch was like kind of scratched for you to some degree, because I feel like private servers were so popular. I mean, Nova and Era had like 1 million, you know, members in their Discords, and we had, you know, those remakes. But also, I feel like, at least for me, what happened is Chapter 2's launch happened, and in my head, I like linked, you know, the delays in like the state of, I don't know what the hell was happening in the company at the time, but we had 2 of the longest fucking seasons we had ever had.
Yeah, it was,
you know, back to back. It was rough. I understand that people love Chapter 2 Season 2. I think that it's so overhyped. I think we had a lot. I think they, you know, went really into the theming. I think there was a lot of good elements of that season, but you also have to realize it was like, I mean, there's dogs that have like lived shorter than that. That's like very, like, it was bad.
Those names that were mentioned a few times, Era and Nova, are private servers made by fans to relive the old Fortnite that they think is better. Even seasons that stayed way past their welcome, like Chapter 2 Season 2, are still looked at fondly. In a poll to see which seasons people wanted hosted, Top Secret won by a landslide. Personally, I don't really care too much, but I think some people out there really do. And I would like to say, this isn't me throwing shade at anybody. I think old Fortnite was fun. I've been playing the game for as long as the launch pad has been around, and I think it might be fun to revisit these old versions of the game. Yeah, I had fun. And it was awesome finally getting a win with one of my favorite skins I can never own. Yeah! But man, it was rough. The sketchiness aside, Fortnite has just made a lot of quality of life improvements over the years. Visualized sound effects, sprinting and mantling, and the increased amount of materials you get when you harvest stuff to help streamline the gameplay are just all missing.
What was that? What was that first shot?
What, where I dealt like 70 a billion times? Yeah, it's called the Burst Assault Rifle.
No, you shot him with the shotgun from that
shotgun from like...
Oh, I just had it prepped, I don't know. The biggest one of all was opening containers, like chests and ammo boxes. Now you can break what's beneath them and they'll automatically drop loot, but back then you just lost it all, and I'm not alone on this.
One of the things that kept throwing me off returning to old Fortnite was that you can't just break below a chest to open it. Small quality of life changes like that I do miss.
Fortnite is a fundamentally different game now, and a lot of changes it's made make the game feel a lot more intuitive to play. Nice! But can you blame them though? Fortnite pretty consistently hits rough patches. The length of early Chapter 2 seasons, the storm changes during Mega, bullet drop through all of Chapter 5, and the lack of content during Vibin. Sometimes, if the core game is rough, you just want to go back to a smaller, simpler game. Fortnite has clearly heard that cry. They started off with a small, month-long return, but have since brought back OG as a permanent game mode. They've also even added all of those cool changes that they've made since the original run of those seasons. They even made Reload, which reuses a lot of those assets left over from those early chapters to try and swing into the graces of the players that left. Do you think the drive towards Chapter 1 related content has positively or negatively impacted Fortnite?
I think positively. I like the Chapter 1 art direction better. I like hit scan better. I like the weapons better. So, yeah.
I think it has a positive impact because it really shows people like how far Fortnite came from being a project from the side being made in like less than 3 months, and to see how far it developed and like innovated on its own engine and stuff like that.
This might be a hot take because I've honestly seen people be like, OG isn't the shit, like it's gonna kill the game. I think it's good. I think OG being a permanent mode is like, I can see why that would be a concern, but honestly, like that means they can just experiment with the original Battle Royale, like the Battle Royale that's currently going on. For example, Wrecked. Like if Wrecked was going on and like the OG map existed for people to just go to, I feel like people wouldn't have been as harsh on that season as they were.
I think that's a really interesting question, firstly. I think a little bit of both in a way. I think overall, it's had the way that they've handled it with the OG as a game mode has been a lot more positive, I think, overall. Of course, issues still arise. There are people, you'll get the complainers, there'll be people going, oh, this is like the 10th time you've brought back Tilted Towers, and of course, within a game like this, it's always evolving, that's going to be an issue. But I think they've done a really good job overall at integrating it as part of an ecosystem where it can exist, but they can still push forward, with Chapter 6 Ballistic Reload. I mean, there is obviously the issue that Reload was meant to be kind of that mini Chapter 1 experience, and now we've also got the actual thing there, so what they do with that, I don't know. But compared to like Season OG in Chapter 4, I think was a much more half-hearted attempt that I think honestly wasn't great. The way that they handled it, they kind of had this big return to form right before pushing Chapter 5, which went against everything that Chapter 1 had going for it. If they want Chapter 1 to be a successful part of the game now, they need to keep it as something that is just its own thing, and it's not the only way to play Fortnite. So I think overall we're going in a good direction now. It's been a bit rocky, you're still going to get the people that are going, oh, early Chapter 1 was terrible, and here's, oh, look at this empty map, it's proof that Chapter 1 actually sucked. But I think as it evolves over the next year, it's going to be a really beneficial part of the game.
I think game side, it's positive because it's more options, especially with BR being how it is now, where it's so different from Chapter 1. It's the same game, but it's a different game, right? Like, so much has changed. And I think it's nice to bring back early OG. I think that's good gameplay side, because now people who like older Fortnite, like me, I can play that, and then people who like the newer Fortnite, they can play that. But community side, I feel like it has caused kind of divisiveness a bit, and it's gonna get a lot worse when it comes out. Reload kind of did that already, but it's gonna be a bit of a mess on Twitter, and I don't really mind it. It'll be fun to watch, but it probably is a negative, the community side.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think that, I feel like at some points they definitely do, overdo it, but I feel like in general, it's definitely helped a lot. I feel like that was still their prime. That's when they initially, blew up and where everyone knows them from. And a lot of people will be complaining oh, new Fortnite, it's not as good as it used to be and whatever. So I feel like if anything, this is really good for them to do it.
If we're talking about more so just doing a lot more Chapter 1 things like Reload, or I guess OG mode, obviously. I think it has positively impacted the game, but not for the reason that it's nostalgia bait, more so because it just kind of brings more people back who maybe are turned off by the modern game. Like Reload is completely different from standard VR. I don't even think that mode having a lot of Chapter 1 influence has much to do with it. It launched with Chapter 4 weapons as well. But OG, you'll notice that when a VR season releases, OG's player count does not change. It is it will hold basically the same player count. I think it's just because there's a lot of people who came for OG and have stuck for OG because that's what the Fortnite Day care about. They don't really care about Star Wars gimmick bullshit or Reload, I guess. That's what I've seen.
It's no secret that OG is a free get players fast button, and I think Epic has realized that it's I get it and I don't at the same time, because Fortnite has evolved so much that I think what we have now is objectively better than what was before, because Prime Fortnite is something that cannot be recreated no matter how much people try.
Fortnite is a ship of Theseus. The only thing that hasn't changed between Chapter 1 and Chapter 6 are the cosmetics that you bought before we even heard rumors of a second island.
I am a fish, walking on land, breathing the air. That is intimidating. No!
For those unfamiliar with the term, the Ship of Theseus is a thought experiment where a question is posed. If you change every piece of a ship to a new ship, is it still the same ship? The answer to this can be debated all day and all night, but in terms of Fortnite, the change is pretty undeniable. They've added new movement mechanics, new game modes, and have changed the engine to a newer model. It's fundamentally different. We had Chapter 4 OG, a return to the roots of what made people fall in love with Fortnite, and then Chapter Chapter 5 happened. Chapter 5 is pretty much the antithesis to what Fortnite is. The game looked a lot more realistic, the colors were darker, bullet drop almost killed the game for most people, and each season just wore away at people like a wave crashing into a cliff. Season 1 was annoying but acceptable. Season 2 had its fun moments but was mostly stagnant. Season 3 was objectively unbalanced and I feel sorry for everybody with motion sickness. And then Season 4 was a collab season with some of the most absurd things Fortnite has even thought about adding. Going directly from a mildly competent recreation of Chapter 1 to whatever was going on internally for Chapter 5 just hit players like nothing else. The feeling was made even worse by the metaverse modes, Lego Fortnite, Rocket Racing, and Fortnite Festival. None of them quite felt right, whether it be due to their lack of content or releasing in a buggy state. Then we got Fortnite Remix a year after Chapter 4 OG, taking us back to the Chapter 2 Season 2 exclusively. Wow, I sure did love that season! Then came Chapter 6, which has had its ups and downs so far, but that first season really helped sell people that they were trying to get their act back together. Oh yeah, and then they brought back OG as a permanent game mode. Just over a week after Chapter 6 launched, Fortnite OG launched with Season 1. A whole new battle pass of honestly goated skins dropped, and the reception was overall pretty positive. Some people had their reservations, and it's... we're going in a loop. I've already talked about all this. The bots ruining the game mode, the horrible state it's been left in. I've already talked about Chapter 1. You remember that, right? I recapped the massive events that made the game into something truly one of a kind. Because Fortnite remembers, and they're gonna make sure that you remember. Fortnite thrives off of nostalgia for the game they once were. Every time they try to innovate or even try something new, something old isn't far behind. They want to have their cake and eat it too, and they know that they can. Why else would they have pumped out a bunch of Renegade Raider reskins and remakes? Why else would they have brought back Midas twice in 1 year? Fortnite is addicted to nostalgia, and they know that you are too. They brought back Renegade Raider. They brought back older maps 3 whole times. I'd say that they're allergic to their heaviest hitters, the 7, but this jam track, which seems to feature an early design for a Visitor remix, says otherwise. Who knows what the future holds for the past? Fortnite is just simply enthralled with what they've done before, arguably to their own detriment. Remix had the potential to be a genuinely fantastic season. They were planning to go through seasons 1, 2, and 3, but instead they just went with Chapter 2 Season 2 because that's the season people remember the most fondly. And Remix was fun! I know people who got back into the game because of Snoop Dogg or because the map that they remember the most fondly returned.
I invited Aquaman. He said yes. So I said, can you wear a shirt? He said, no.
Because nostalgia sells. It just works. Some of Fortnite's most iconic characters are from those glory days, and they're iconic because of that glory. Fortnite was on a generational run, and it would be insane to argue anything else. Sure, they're still breaking records, but that's because the game is different now. Is Fortnite still the titan they once were? It's debatable, especially with the way they caused the industry to pivot to battle royale games, but I would say that they still are. The definition of what Fortnite has changed. To those who played it all those years ago, it was just simply a battle royale game whose building mechanic and fun art style set it apart. To people who joined halfway through its life, it's an ever-changing battle royale game with a heavy emphasis on crossovers. To people who've joined the game recently, it's the game where Fry from Futurama and Ernie the giant chicken from Family Guy can do fun dances to Cat's Eye.
And then you gotta hit him with the
Fortnite's original characters have largely taken a backseat. The 7 died off. I can't even remember what happened in late Chapter 4 with Dr. Sloan, and Jones is now training up a worthy successor in hope. Yeah, they still do cool stuff with their OCs, but it's really just set dressing until they can bring in the next collab. Speaking of, give me a great Saiyaman skin. And I'm not asking. But I'm also just not gonna stand here and act like nostalgia never works on me.
If you had no idea that we're in Fortnite, then why do you have a cardboard cutout of Master Chief?
Perfectly regular reasons.
Some of my favorite Fortnite skins are older skins, but I really do like a lot of these newer ones. Nostalgia doesn't normally hit for me, but when it does, it really does. I have been a Sonic fan since I was playing Sonic Mega Collection on my hand-me-down GameCube. When I go back to play Sonic 2, I'm reminded of the days I spent stuck in the purple glue sludge stuff. Nostalgia works. Sonic Team knows this. It's why they keep bringing back Chemical Plant and its purple goo sludge stuff in almost every mainline title. Sometimes people will get tired of it.
Let's move right on into Metal Overlord, who's hanging out at Chemical Plant.
But sometimes people are super excited to see it back. Nostalgia sells, and other people got a whiff. Many others did the same thing that Fortnite did, emulating old versions of the game for a limited time. Did it work? I have no idea. I don't play Overwatch, and I tried to play Apex, but I got so mad at the movement, I went and played Titanfall instead. The point now is that people love their old stuff. Cassette tapes and CDs are making a comeback, not because they're genuinely interesting hardware, but because people love reminiscing. There's something novel about visiting old things. Things from your childhood, things that you've likely forgotten about as you've grown up and gotten busier. When everything is fighting for your attention and evolving so rapidly, sometimes it is nice just to slow down and try to remember where you came from. A lot of people might not just enjoy how the game was back then, but whenever they think about it, they're reminded of the good times they spent on the game when they were younger. Do you think that modern Fortnite, such as Chapter 3, 4, and 5, are better than what most people would consider OG, such as Chapter 1 and 2, and why or why not?
That's actually kind of difficult, because as much as Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 are good, and Chapter 3 is peak, Chapter 4 and Chapter 5, they're kind of just like there. But I mean, I think, honestly, if you wanted me to say, I think that it is better. Like, I think Chapter 3, 4, and 5 are better chapters. Because it's like there's just more content put into all of that. Even if it's like some of the time just like recycled stuff that they'll like bring in for like weeks every now and then. I honestly think it's a better experience because it's just more shit to do.
If you had just said Chapter 1, I would have considered saying yes. But Chapter 2 had some of my favorite seasons of all time. So if it's like, I don't know though. I feel like there's different elements that are better and different elements that are way worse. I'm gonna go. For me personally, it is not better. And I think that certain things are much better, but certain things, like I could argue, are much worse. I think what people don't realize is it genuinely is like a completely different game than what it was before. Like, yeah, BR still feels like a BR, I guess, but I think the gameplay experience in like getting Fortnite, there's all the maps, all the different modes, everything. It is a very different experience.
I like them pretty individually, honestly. I see them as a progression of the game and less so a comparison to one another. I will say I don't like what is it called? Bullet Drop? Anti-Bullet Drop gang. All the people I've met that liked Bullet Drop started when Bullet Drop became a thing.
I think it's very mixed. It's like one half, I think Fortnite, like original Fortnite season, like they did better with making it like feel stand out, like have personality. Like you can look at it and be like, oh, this is Fortnite, but with modern stuff, it's kind of leaned away from its original personality and like what made it unique to like a more realistic, like super high graphic, look at how pretty we can make this game versus from like the very simplistic cartoony feel. But I do think modern Fortnite is better with like the items they bring in, the skins they produce, this Battle Pass is actually better than older Battle Pass in my opinion. It's just like, it's 50-50 in my opinion. I think old Fortnite is better with personality wise and making memories versus new Fortnite being so short, but they have better content, if that makes sense.
6 is fine. It's not great. It's not like perfect. It's the only chapter of the past 3 that I feel is like remotely close to like good. I think it's pretty solid, but chapter 5 and 4 are horrible. Horrible. Like, Chapter 4 Season 2, Storm Change just fucking ruined the game. Wilds, I don't fucking care. Last Resort, just, like, horrible content cycle, like, horrible meta. Chapter 5, do I need to explain? I mean, I do, probably. Movement changes were horrible in launch. Still think the animations are worse, but I'm not gonna bitch about it, because who fucking cares? Does not matter. Like, the heal changes, I feel, were done in the worst way possible. Bullet Drop was the worst change this game has ever had in any mode ever at all. And then Wrecked happened. Don't need to explain that. This is a sentiment I need to get across. I want this in the video. They need to stop changing things that aren't broken. They keep trying to reinvent the wheel. They keep trying to make these changes, like to things that have worked so many times. And I feel like this is relevant to OG as well. They're changing the grass for no reason. I just fucking care. That's not at least my problems. They're changing all the balancing for no reason. Because I need to make it known. Zavatron, on it, like, when it was unused in the game, had its proper stats. And then when they actually were adding it, they hotfixed it to be wrong.
It's a good question. So due to the fact that Chapter 5 is dumped into the mix, I would say it's not better. because Chapter 5 has lost a lot of what gave Fortnite its own identity, in my opinion. I think Fortnite Rapes is at its best when it's simple, and Chapter 5 stripped away that simplicity for the sake of innovation, quote unquote, with the bullet drops and the augments. While I'm in favor for innovation for the sake of it, because it's brought us a lot of good things back in Chapter 2, 3, and 4, I don't think they hit the nail on the head with Chapter 5, because they didn't commit to like Weaponized, yeah, or even the theming of the seasons with Season 2 being a particular case.
I'm gonna have to say no. I really like Chapter 6 so far. I think it's off to a strong start, and I liked the first, I liked Chapter 4 Season 1. I thought that was I didn't enjoy Chapter 3 that much. That's another very unpopular take that I have, is that I just didn't enjoy that chapter. So Chapter 4 Season 1 was really fresh for me. There's a distinct approach to game design that they've had since Chapter 4, and it's been present throughout really all of the chapters so far. Of course, it's too early to tell with 6, but I think the way that they used to handle the game, this big story approach, this like focus on spreading out content and having an evolving world, particularly with the first 2 chapters, was a lot more of a enjoyable approach to now, where they're focused on these huge marketable season launches, stuff in as many collab characters as you can. And these yearly chapters don't give you time to bond with the maps or the gameplay experience. So as much as I'd love to say, modern Fortnite's great, I think it's going in a better direction, but I just don't think that until they change their philosophy to game design, I don't think they can beat what they had from 2017 to 2022.
I don't agree with that separation. I think that the separation is post and pre-mustard. That's like it for me, right? I'm being so real. I think that the shift was so immediately obvious to me, even like after 5. Like I sensed something like in my heart. It hurt. I think that gameplay wise, the only real big misstep they've had is Chapter 5. I think the game has remained pretty good throughout. I know that's like a really boring take, but I think that what they fucked up is the mood. The mood has completely just been brutalized and like killed and hurt, and they've kind of murdered any kind of feel. Like I don't get excited about the game very much anymore, and it kind of sucks. But I think it's because Donnie knew what he was doing. And also, the art director left in Chapter 4 Season 1, and I feel like any assets made after that time look significantly worse. And especially Chapter 5 and 6, I think the textures and the models look disgusting. I think the lighting isn't terrible. Like, I think we've had strides in 6. I think it looks a lot better than 5, but I still fucking hate how everything looks. 1 second, I have to point this out. Let me share a screen real quick. So this is the Chapter 3 shower, and then this is the Chapter 6 shower. And it's subtle, but you can see here, this is, in my opinion, realistic while keeping like the rough stylized edges. And then here, they just kind of kill it, or like here, this in my opinion is kind of insane, because the one on the left, I don't even know if I would really call stylized immediately. Like, if you look here, right, there's this very slight bend, it's kind of concave, right? And they remove it completely. Same here. And I would call these, at least comparatively to like the earlier game stuff, I would assume this is realistic.
That was super noticeable.
Yeah, this one's the biggest, but still, these are like subtle changes, and they felt the need to axe it out,
Real quick, I do want to give a shout out to everyone who took the time out of their day to be interviewed. Everyone had some good insight, and I feel bad for cutting people out, but some people just went on for too long, or things they said were repeated better by other people. All the links to them will be in the description, and I just want you to know that we talked about more than just what's in the video. We talked about the map evolutions, the collabs, the metaverse modes, and pretty much everyone talked about how Wrecked was really cool in theory, but probably one of the worst seasons we've ever had. I just want to give a shout out to all the cool people who decided to share their opinions and hang out with me for a while. This video probably wouldn't have been made in such a way if it wasn't for them.
Who wants more slurp juice?
More slurp juice?
Fortnite is an incredibly volatile game, and it's changing constantly. To focus on one specific era of the game is missing the point of it all. The game will never be the same again. It's not a game like Counter-Strike, where they try to preserve the same game feel across iterations. I like a lot of the skins in gallery. I want those dualies though. What? Pull the knife!
Holy shit!
Pull the knife!
I looked away at that shit.
Or a game like Team Fortress 2, where it doesn't change because it's been almost abandoned. That guy have Bowser on his sign? I think that's my sign. That's my sign! Fortnite doesn't just change every 3 months when a new Battle Royale season drops, it changes every 2 weeks when we get a small update. The vision of Fortnite has shifted over the years. From a zombie survival game, to a Battle Royale side mode, to a gaming platform. This screenshot has been shown a lot, but I want to focus on that date. December 13th, 2017. That was the day before they unveiled their first Battle Pass. That's how confident they already were in Fortnite. Fortnite loves their old self, but they're also clearly starting to show love to the new stuff too. Hope is a fantastic character who already has several skins. Kendo looks cool and I hope he sticks around, and Daigo and Jade clearly still have more to tell for their story. Chapter 6's story feels the most like the game has in a while. Not because it's relying on those old elements, but because it's fully committed. Fortnite's had commitment issues before, like cutting the god stuff for a month to let Avatar run rampant, but they're clearly trying to get back into the groove. Some people don't care about Fortnite's story, but I think it's really fun to examine these characters under the lens of a forever evolving story. Really, they can't have their stories conclude because they're too popular, and then when they are concluded, it's anticlimactic. Yeah, they still do weird things, like the Renegade Raider OG style, giving a 100 V-Buck emote an OG reward. But I think that's due to said exclusivity and weird laws I don't really understand. I'm not a lawyer. Thankfully though, they've been cutting back on that altogether though, bringing certain items back, stating certain skins can return in the future, and even ending permanent Battle Pass exclusivity. There's clearly still an element at play, but it's clear that they've realized that this model was unsustainable. It's arguable that the whole game is unsustainable at this point. They've axed Rocket Racing, Save the World might as well be dead, OG's updates are poorly handled and broken, and I don't really play any of the other modes enough to comment on it. By all accounts, Fortnite OG should have been a success, but for failure after failure by the OG team, it's not looking bright. I don't think the OG game mode will ever actually die. It's clearly got a stable enough player base, but with the state it's in, you never know. They're still adding more bugs with each new update, so who knows what the future holds. I'm hoping that they can get their act together and actually fix the thing, but as it stands, I don't think that'll happen. I think OG has potential. It just needs some serious work, because with how much Fortnite panders to that era, you'd think they'd want it to at least play somewhat decently. Hey, what's up? Welcome to the end card. Please subscribe. I want to get a supporter creator code so I can do custom games. This was a fun project to do, so you might be seeing more of these in the future. But I've only got 20 seconds to talk, so I'm gonna head out now, but thank you for watching, and please subscribe!